Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rena. If you're new here, then welcome and welcome to another sunscreen reviews. I love reviewing sunscreens. I know you guys love it too. I've been doing these for a period of time actually, and I usually review them from my personal experience wise, from my least favorite to my favorite, but I also go to the ingredients, just lightly touch on. But this time I went a little bit deeper. I start to look for the actual ingredient behind each bottle of sunscreen here, and then re-ranking them again. I've actually found a couple of reasons why I like that particular one, why this one works better than the other. So there's scientific reason behind it. If you like a bit of nerdy videos, then this review might be for you. If you like these reviews in general, don't forget to give me a like and consider subscribe down below. I'll leave the playlist where I reviewed all the other sunscreen down in the description box as well. So I want to quickly mention that I'm not a dermatologist. I don't have intensive backgrounds on chemistry or learning these compounds. I learned this as I go, just like you guys as well, but I kind of like doing summarizing, and I like to write down everything and compare it. That's my part of fun of doing this. So here, just to show you, getting you to know a bit of like just the main I guess common ingredients that we use in sunscreen and which one is better, why some having a bit of controversial like discussion about it, and some of the new generations why they are more popular these days. If you like something slightly educational but nothing too much, you know, just to know a little bit more, since this is something where we put on face and body almost every day. Without further ado, let's just dive into today's content. If I ask you to name one Australian sunscreen brand that is easy access, very affordable, having different types suit for different people, what is the name of the brand? I'm sure all of you guys are the same as me, Cancer Console. That's the first one I think of. There are other brands, Invisible Zinc, New Day Skin, Banana Bread, well that's not necessarily an Australian brand, Ocean Australia, octyl zinc that I can all think of. But Cancer Console definitely like number one top there. They have so many different types of sunscreens. They do have a whole collection of face day wear moisturizer, which I reviewed in the past, and now they came up with new ones that I think I need to do an update on that video as well. But this time I went for their everyday range. Is there like this sort of color packaging wise? They do have quite a lot, and I don't have everything. I've got the majority. The ones that I don't have, I did have a look of the ingredients sort of behind it. It's nothing worth me to go purchase just to show you guys that I've got this one, because this time we're mainly going to have a look the ingredients on the back of the bottle. Alright, without further ado, let's just dive into today's video. Firstly, I want to talk about the types of sunscreen agent. So we have mineral sunscreen and we have chemical. In the chemical sunscreen, which is the majority of the sunscreen that we see on the market these days, we have those old goodies, classic standard chemical filters, but we also have some new generation ones. The new generation ones are new because they're super good, but they're not widely accessed or accepted across the world, and we go through them as we go along. So let's go back to the basics, talk about the old and the goodie classic ones. First we're going to talk about the everyday sunscreen SPF 50. I've got the one in SPF 30, which is their old sort of formula. They're no longer having SPF 30, I believe. They have slightly different active ingredients. I actually bought this one just to show you guys, but now I regret it because I know this is not my favorite. That's why I'm not going ahead to do the others, because there's no point. They do have different sizes for this particular sunscreen. We have 110 mils, 250, 500 mils, or 1 liter big bottle. So they're really designed to be used for the entire family. It is claiming to have SPF 50, UVA, UVB broad spectrum protection, lightly fragrance. So that is actually something I don't particularly enjoy, but I'm not against it either. I remember the fragrance from the SPF 30 that I've got. It's definitely not the best. It also gives 4 hours water resistance as well, so that is something important when we consider a sunscreen. I'm just trying to stand my little cheat sheet here and it's keep falling off. The Everyday Value Sunscreen is a pure chemical sunscreen. We've got 3 active ingredients here: avobenzone 3%, homosalate 6%, and octocrylene 8%. Let's talk about these ingredients each individually first. First, the avobenzone. This is absolutely the big old boss in the chemical sunscreen agent, especially for the UVA, because it's the one and only globally available accepted chemical filters to provide proper UVA protection. Some of the new generations ones are not going to be accepted by FDA in the US. So if you're in the US, you're most likely getting avobenzone as UVA protector. Protecting UVA means protecting that aging defense over time, which the wrinkles and all the saggy skins that you see over a long-term period. Avobenzone protects all spectrum of the UVA rays. That's coming from 310 to 400 nanometers. But one main problem with avobenzone, and that is why we have a new generation agents, it's because it's not photostable. That means they degrade very quickly over time. So it's about 36% every 6 minutes. So you can understand why we need to reapply it every 2 hours and definitely every 4 hours, because otherwise we're applied loneliness on the face. It's all worn off by itself. Apart from avobenzone, the other two ingredients, they're all protecting mainly UVB, so that burning sensation, you don't feel like the heat, the burn, the redness that you see when you go directly under the sunlight. Homosalate itself is not a very strong UVB filter. It only protects the nanometers from 295 to 315, and it only gives a SPF 4.3. So you can imagine that's actually very, very low. And it's not photostable either. So we reduced 10% every 45 minutes and we're starting with only 4. So, you know, it basically giving a very, very minimal protection. The reason why we're using homosalate a lot in a sunscreen, because it's a great supporting agent to help dissolving other chemical ingredients such as the soluble powders, avobenzone that we just talked about. So it's really good to work together to make everything a little bit more stable and easy to be applied on the face. The other thing with homosalate is there is a study done in virtual showing they have some estrogenic activity. So that's like a female hormonal changes that you can detect it from this particular ingredient. It's not done in a human, which means the results might be exactly the same, even worse, completely opposite, not relevant at all. So to me, I believe as long as it's been passing TGA and over all the years I've been using it, the amount that we actually have to be applied on the face is probably not going to be enough to actually show those estrogenic activities. But if you're someone really safe and sorry situation, then this might be an ingredient that you look for when you choose your sunscreen. The other one is the octocrylene. If I got any of the names wrong, I tried to do right, but sometimes they're very, very hard to pronounce correctly. This one protects some range of UVB and some range of UVA. But again, it is quite photo unstable, so it reduces around 10% every 95 minutes. Better than homosalate, but still, you know, it's not the perfect ideal ingredient. It does also help to stabilize UVA avobenzone, and it helps to improve that water resistance. So you see this still very oftenly in the old classic chemical sunscreens. Another potential problem with octocrylene is a might cause photo contact allergy. Means if you have a very, very sensitive skin, or if you have like trying to use it for your kids and you just don't want them to have any allergy developed over time or the risks to being developed, again, this might be an ingredient you want to stay away. So overall speaking, this will not be the one that I repurchase or recommend. And personal experience wise, this is not one that I like at all. It was one of those very old classic sunscreen that I think you can get any other sunscreen on the market and they work almost the same. Moving on, the next sunscreen we're going to talk about is their moisturizing sunscreen. I do have the smallest size, it's the 35 ml travel tube. They also have 110, 200, 500 and 1 liter big bottle. I do like they have different designs for different sizes. It claims to have SPF 50 plus, UVA, UVB both spectrum, 4 hours water resistance, and for moisturizing, they added aloe vera to, I guess, soothing and calming the skin. The active ingredients in here, again, a pure chemical sunscreen. We've got avobenzone 3%, we talk about the UVA filter, and we got octocrylene 8%, we mentioned, homosalate 10%, just same as the previous one. They also have another one in here, it's called octyl salicylate 5%. Octyl salicylate is a UVB filter, so it blocks or absorbs the UVB lights from 280 to 320 nanometers. It is again not a very strong one by itself, but it is usually to use to further enhance that SPF. That is why I think this one's got SPF 50 plus rather than the everyday one just SPF 50. And they also help to solubilize other solid UV filters such as the avobenzone powder that we just mentioned, like the previous sunscreen. The maximum concentration that we can have for octylene salicylate is 5% in US, Europe, I believe in Australia as well. In Japan, sometimes you can get up to 10%. So the higher obviously means the higher for the SPF value, stability, and also to help dissolve all the soluble solid powders. Experience wise, I will link that like reviews for each individual sunscreens definitely down in the description box, but this is something definitely better than the everyday value, but it's still a little bit too oily to be used by itself. I don't mind to use it on my body, but if I'm saying just apply sunscreen at my last step and going outside, I wouldn't go for the moisturizer one. Next up, let's talk about the Ultra sunscreen. I've got the Ultra cooling one in the bathroom, which I'm just almost finished. They're very similar. That one just having a cooling effect design in a bottle, and I don't think I can find that one either, like on their website. So they must be one of their old product, or they've changed to Ultra now. I haven't checked. This one have intensive sizes range as well. I've got 110 bottles. They do have like a travel size 35 mils, 200, 250, 500, 1 liter. They also have a 4-gram lip balm, so it does cover all aspects on your body. This one claimed to have SPF 50+, UVA, UVB broad spectrum, fragrance free. That's something that we did not see with the previous two. 4 hours water resistance. The experience of using this one is again quite standard, but not bad. Like, it's not too oily, too greasy. I can apply it on my face, on my body, and I feel still moisturized, not too drying, not too tacky. Again, I wouldn't use it as a last step, just go outside without any makeup. I would sort of powder myself down a little bit. But if you're someone who don't use makeup on an everyday basis, like moisturizer is your last step, you will enjoy the finish of this one. It's just like another moisturizer with a little hint of oiliness from sunscreen, just a little bit. Looking at it ingredient wise, very, very similar to the moisturizer one. We've got octocrylene 8%, avobenzone 3%, homosalate 10%, and octosalicate 5%. So I guess the difference between this is fragrance free. This one's got aloe vera in it. Depends on what your preference. If you're having a drier skin, you super want that moisturizing ingredient, then this might be the one to go for. I wouldn't recommend any of this saying you need to go ahead and purchase, because I see these active ingredient not because of the chances can cause allergy or causing the estrogenic activity. It's more because they degrade so quickly, and I know for myself there's so many days I just forget to reapply or not reapply often enough or adequate amount. It's just so hard, and on a top of a sunscreen that degrades so quickly, I would prefer something more photo stable. Moving on, let's talk about the Cancer Council Spot Sunscreen. So each one of the sunscreen have slightly different claims, which I know they're trying to target different people, but overall speaking, in general, a lot of them are also very, very similar. So this one we've got 50 ml, 110, 200, 250, and 500. I've got 110 mils here. It is also SPF 50+, UVA, UVB broad spectrum. It is fragrance free and 4 hours water resistant, and plus this one has sweat resistant ability as well. So suitable for if you're going like activities, you know that you're gonna sweat a lot. Ingredient wise, similar but slightly different. Again, we have avobenzone 3% for UVA filter, octyl salicylate 5%, homosalate 8%, octocrylene 6%, but we also have something called 4-methylbenzolidine camphor 2.5%. This one I'm trying to go for like a short term for it, and I couldn't find one. This is so bad. Avobenzone had a long chemical name as well, but we know them as avobenzone, so I prefer that name. It's easy. 4-methylbenzolidine camphor, it is a UVB filter. It blocks the range from 290 to 320. By block, I mean absorbs. It is slightly photo unstable, so we reduce 10% every 6-5 minutes and 50% roughly every 6 hours. It's definitely a lot better than the other ones we mentioned, but still, somewhat unstable. It is also again to help stabilize UVA avobenzone. That is why you see these sort of the ones that I just mentioned. They're very common in pair in a classic old woody sunscreen because they are working really well together. The problem with this ingredient is not widely accepted either. We can see them in Australia, we can see them in European sunscreens, but it's not used in the US or in the Japan. And the reason is because this one seems to be absorbed into the body. Not necessarily knowing the really bad side effects, but we know it's into the body, so we're trying to minimize that. Again, I reckon the amount that we're gonna absorb into the body not gonna be significant to make a huge difference. But if you're someone safe than sorry, then this is another ingredient to look for. So moving on to the next one, we start to seeing some new generation agents. So I was really excited for this one, but I still kind of not 100% happy about it. I don't have that one with me. The one I'm talking about is the Cancer Council Kids Sunscreen. I've got the kids+zinc one. For some reason, I always thought I've already had the kids one tried out. Apparently, that was wrong. That was a wrong impression in somewhere back in my mind. I think I just had a dream where I tried it. So we're still gonna talk about it because I reckon it's a good one to talk about since they only have 2 kids ones in this entire range. I would like to know as a parent, as a big sister, to know what's the ingredient behind it. So they do have 35 ml, 75 ml, 110, 200, 250 and 500 ml. And I like they don't have a liter because for kids to use a sunscreen for a liter, unless you have more than 1 child at home, it usually takes a while. So that one also claims to have SPF 50+, UVA, UV both spectrum. It is fragrance free and paraben free. That is a bonus point. 4 hours water resistance, and it is designed for delicate skin. We'll talk about that in a minute. This is a mixture of old classic ingredients and new agents. So we have avobenzone 3%, we have octocrylene 4%, we also have the 4-methylbenzolidine camphor 4% in this sunscreen, which is more concentration than the other one. You might be able to tell the problem here already. The octocrylene can cause that photo contact allergy, like very potentially. Also the 4-methylbenzolidine camphor, how many times I'm gonna say this compound? It's not used in US or Japan because of that potential absorption into the body with unknown side effects. I want to point out to you because I know as a big sister, and I just care my sister so much to the point I think sometimes I overprotect her. But if I have other options and it still works well on the skin, because experience-wise is also very important, I would go for those rather than going for this one. Doesn't mean this is a bad one because it does contain a really good new generation chemical filter, which is uvinul T150. We have 3% concentration here and the maximum concentration is 5%. This is the highest photostable absorption of all UVB filters. That's ranging from 280 all the way to 320 nanometers. All of that burning, it's gonna be absorbed by this, and it's very photostable. So you can be reassuring when your kids use this outside, it's not gonna receive any burn. And that's very, very well reassuring. So I do really like this one. And this particular agent works perfectly in fragrance-free formulas, so you don't have to worry that. I think this is a super, super great point that I put into kids sunscreen because I'm sure a lot of you guys, apart from the aging, like when we use it when we grow up, we mainly just want to make sure kids doesn't get burned. It doesn't get the redness, itchiness, peeling off the skin. I had that when I was little and that was terrible feelings. This one, it has its own pros and cons that I actually can say I do recommend it, but maybe not for everyone, especially if you have very, very sensitive skins. Let's look more new generation chemical filters in the sunscreen. Next, we have the active sunscreen. This is actually a fun one. I've got a pink bottle here, which is 110 ml, and this is the only size they've got for the pink color. But they also have a black one coming from 35, 110 to 200 ml, and I've used that one up before in my previous reviews. I bought those two together. So when I look at the ingredient, they're exactly the same. Is that means the color is for like preferences, if you like a pink or you like a black? I'm not quite sure. If I'm wrong, correct me down. Like what the things that I'm missing apart from the color packaging. So this one's claiming to have SPF 50+, UVA, UVB spectrum protection, 4 hours water resistance, and it's giving a matte finish with a dry touch formula. Dry touch, tick. Matte finish, I'll say probably just satiny or semi-matte finish. It's not a full matte because their face they wear moisturizer, the matte one is a full, capital letter full matte. Yeah, but this is still really good. Like I would wear this one by itself if I get outside because I don't feel my skin is super oily when I apply my sunscreen. Ingredient wise, again, we have old classic avobenzone, we got 5%, and then 4-methylbenzolidine camphor 4%. Also have octocrylene 2% plus 1 new generation active ingredient. Here is the tinosorb S. Tinosorb S and another one, tinosorb M, are something so popular recently, which I'll talk about the tinosorb M in a minute as well. This is one of the best sun care agent that covers both UVA and UVB. That range 280 all the way to 400 nanometers and is very photostable. So you know you wouldn't have anything burned or aged if you apply the correct amount with proper time frame reapplying it. Again, this one's not approved by FDA, so you can't get it here in, well, not here in the US, but I'm really happy that tinosorb S is accepted here by TGA in Australia. I don't know if you guys remember from last year's vlog, this year I got tan pretty bad. I'm still trying to recover it, and because I used the Ultra One, and you know Ultra One is this old classic sunscreen that doesn't have those high photo stability, and I actually spent more time outdoor this year than last year. But there were a few times last year it was 35, almost 40 degrees. We were walking to the restaurant and that was like 20-minute straight walk under the sun. I just used the active one and I had no burn, no redness, no tan. Like everything was well covered. So I know tinosorb S is a really good, very photostable, very effective ingredient. So I really do recommend this one, especially if you're adult and you're not someone really worried about the potential sort of effects the other chemical ingredients can provide to your skin. This could be a one that I want to repurchase in the future because it's super affordable. I do recommend this one. Moving on, I've got 2 left here, and both of these actually containing physical mineral ingredient as well. Let's talk about the kids one because well, compare these two, I think I love this one a little bit more, so I save it to the last. This is their kids+zinc sunscreen with aloe vera and vitamin E. We only have one size, 75 mils, SPF 50+, UVA, UVB broad spectrum, 4 hours water resistance. So as the name suggested, they put zinc here to really give a high concentration. We've got 20% zinc oxide. So greater or equal than 10% zinc oxide is when it's actually doing proper work, proper not filtering, this time it's blocking the UVA and UVB lights. Apart from that, we also have octocrylene 6%, and then we have tinosorb S and tinosorb M 2.5%. We've just talked about one of them that is great for UVA and UVB protection, is very stable as well. The other one, not even better, but equally good. Tinosorb M is actually a hybrid ingredient. It provides half as a physical barrier, half as a chemical filter. It also protects both UVA and UVB range from 280 all the way to 400 nanometers, and it's highly photostable. It is also working super well with all the other UV filters, although it's a hybrid ingredient. So if you see tinosorb M and you know this sunscreen is gonna be a combination of chemical and mineral sunscreen. And for this particular one, I love how they add in both tinosorb M and S because first, it's for the kids, so that burning and that aging, it's gonna be something that we want to prevent from a very young age, as young as possible. And plus, they have zinc in here, so they, adding another layer of a physical barrier. The only downside I would say, first is the ingredient where they have the old and classic, which it might be a thing that you worry. But most important is the experience. Because they have 20% zinc oxide in here, it is a little bit thick as a, not toothpaste, but just a little bit thicker cream that you need to take a bit of time to rub it on your face and get absorbed. And that's some luxury time is we don't have when we are working with kids. Like when I get my sister out, I probably have 5 minutes to get her ready, and she wouldn't spend the time to apply this one because it takes too long and it feels a little bit heavier on the skin. So I do recommend this, but I guess it depends whether you have a good kid. My sister is good, but she's not very compliant when it comes to sunscreen. The last but not least I've got here is the Cancer Consult Sensitive Sunscreen, and this is the one that I would highly recommend among all the other ones. And I'm super glad I put this in my 2020 top 5 recommendations of sunscreen. I did not know the ingredient at the time, but I know that experience-wise it was super like high up there, and turns out it does have some really good ingredients. Again, we have 110 and 200 ml bottle sizes to choose from, SPF 50+, UVA, UVB both spectrum. It contains aloe vera vitamin E, but it's also fragrance and paraben free. It also has that 4 hours water resistance, and looking at it ingredient wise, they're pretty much all new generation sunscreen agents. So we've got 5% of zinc oxide. I wouldn't say this one is a really good concentration because, as I mentioned earlier, 10% is the minimum, but I guess 5% does a little bit of something. And we have tinosorb S as well as tinosorb M. So very stable, covers all UVA, UVB rays, something that you know it wouldn't cause a problem when you applied it. It won't feel the burn and will protect your aging concerns. One other active ingredient is that 4-methylbenzone camphor 1%. I think this is more for to stabilize everything, like, you know, dissolve, putting everything together as a supportive agent. That is why they only have 1% in there. And this is the one and only that can only lead to that absorbing into the body, but there's with no known effect. It's kind of like ultrasound that I do. We say it's safe to people because we have not found out anything that is harming people, like yet to be known to harm people. It doesn't mean it won't harm, but it means most likely it won't do anything horrible to the people who ever undertake ultrasound scans, if that's making sense. So overall speaking, I think this one covers the most good new generation agents, and it contains both physical, chemical, active ingredients in this bottle. I really do recommend. I think this could be the winner from this whole roundup. So if this one that you're looking for, there you go, the Cancer Consult Sensitive Sunscreen. And that is everything for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy today's video, don't forget to give me a like and consider subscribe down below. If you like contents like you want me to review sunscreen in this type of format rather than just my experience, I reckon experience is very important. When I look at sunscreen, 50% is going to be based on how I feel, how it works. The other 50 is what actually make it work. Is it backing up with their active ingredients behind it? So if you wanted me to do more reviews like today's content sort of type, let me know in the comments down below. I might bring out some of my old sunscreen that I already ranked and I do recommend, and go through them all over again just to see if I still like fully stands for it or something could be even better than others. That is all for today. I hope you guys have a good day, stay safe and stay positive, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!